So joining me, my great friend, really dear friend, former senior counselor to President Trump, Kellyanne Conway is here. Kellyanne, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Larry.
Looking great. Thanks for doing this. Kellyanne, before we start, I want you to hear something that Joe Manchin said on Bret Baier's special report last night on Fox. Please take a listen.
I just saw it to confirm that we have a divided country. I hope it's a wake-up call for all of us. I'm concerned. I've been talking about our debt. I've been talking about inflation. I've been talking about the fallout we may have. And why don't we do more drilling? And why don't we do more, basically, production in the United States? I'm not depending on OPEC. I'm not depending on other countries for my energy anymore. We know how to do it. We have the technology. We should be relying on ourselves.
So that just strikes me as eminently sensible from the
Yes.
West Virginia Democrat. And I think the voters are backing him up. And I think yesterday's, of course, the economy in Virginia, taxes and inflation was the number1 issue. But there were other things. And in particular, I think the almost rainbow ticket that Glenn Youngkin put together in Virginia, which is amazing. Strong Latino vote is also amazing. So you take it from there. But don't you think this is a tectonic shift? I mean, Democrats ignoring it at their peril?
There's no denying that it is. And I think in addition to the socialism and the yelling at parents and the isolating the taxpayers, Larry, the leaders of the Democratic Party, whether it's Pelosi, Schumer, Biden himself, and now Terry McAuliffe, really the last vestige of the Clintons, they just seem stale and sclerotic. They're not in touch with what Americans are telling pollsters and everyone else in their circle of lives, what is vexing them, what their priorities are. They're out of touch, but they're also just out of sync with what Americans say. So to wit, Glenn Youngkin did a great job, of course, energizing parents. You can't poke a mama bear and expect to survive that, Terry McAuliffe. But there was more than that. I say that Glenn Youngkin tapped into the local issues that are what I call, Larry, household hassles. He wants to get rid of the grocery tax.
Right.
He talked about reforming the DMV. These are things people stand up and say, finally. I mean, talk about things that are a major hassle. So, and he did it as a happy warrior. You know, he's very polite about it. But without those America First policies to undergird him, I think that it could have been a different result, maybe even a closer race.
He was an optimist, wasn't he? The way he portrayed it?
He's an optimist, but like Trump, he was a successful job creator, first-time candidate, political outsider who is talking about pro-growth, free market policies in a way that's accessible and authoritative and affable. Now, the people in Washington, they will triple down, and here's why. Terry McAuliffe insulted the voters, and Joe Biden followed up by blaming the voters. He acted like they really didn't understand what they were doing. Look at the left-wing commentators all over TV, Larry. Instead of saying, let's learn from this, that people don't want to be taxed and regulated to death like we are in New Jersey. Murphy practically lost that race to Jack Ciattarelli, who ran as an anti-tax, pro-growth candidate. In addition to that, they think that they're right. So now they're calling people names. They're literally saying the African Americans and Hispanics who voted for Glenn Youngkin are racist, didn't understand critical race theory. It's not really being taught. This is critical race theory is a, quote, dog whistle. No, it's not. It's real. It's in the curriculum. It's been creeping and seeping in for a while. Now they're making fun of the white women. Oh, white women, they voted for Glenn Youngkin because they didn't understand the issues. You don't insult the voters if you want them to support you. You don't keep taking their money and wasting it. And the liberals, I'll just say this, the liberals got us to where we are. I want to thank them all today. I want to thank them all, Larry, because had they not locked down our kids for a year and a half, a lot of these moms and dads would not have been hearing what the kids were actually being taught. So screen time is school time for 18 months meant more parents were hearing exactly what was being put into the kids' brains and saying, what's going on here? And they got more involved. So I think that is part of the model moving forward. But let's not forget that those economic policies were an anchor, along with some of the special local issues. Look, Nancy Pelosi is a lame duck speaker. She's got a very slim margin to do anything. So I think the reason she's tripling down is that she needs some kind of win. She doesn't want to go out. Her last time as speaker, frankly, she doesn't want to go out with nothing to show for it. And so she will continue to push these policies. Now, what about the liberal criticism, Larry, that, well, people don't know what's in the bill because the media haven't helped us sell it well enough? That's not the media's job. I think people are against the bill because they do know what's in it.
I think they know what's in the bill.
Because they're paying attention.
I think they're smart.
And they know what's in it,
yes.
And they don't want what they're selling.
So look at this, you know, from the voter analysis yesterday. The #1 issue in Virginia was the economy.
Yes, of course.
35%. the virus 17 and education 15. So the economy was twice as much. So you're quite right. People voted against the taxes. Very clever, I think, of Youngkin. I mean, grocery taxes, gasoline taxes, as you say, stuff that's a pain in the neck, that bothers people a lot, that annoys people. That worked. His optimism worked. Racism didn't work. The race card by the Dems did not work.
It doesn't work, and I think people want to call you names when they have nothing else to say. I mean, how's it any different than when you're called that in the second grade on the playground? People are going to call you a name, and they don't want you to have a name. They want to give you a label. They don't want you to have free thought. If they would just have a battle of ideas, Larry, if we can just argue with the Democrats substantively on the issues, if we can have policy versus policy, then we're talking. That's what Americans expect. But they can't do that because their policies are not working in the polls, are not working with America because their policies simply aren't working. So it's not going to be a fair fight. It's always going to be harder to be the policy people, the substance and solutions people, but always more worth it. And I think it's incredibly important to note that Glenn Youngkin also, I think, tapped into the fact that, you know, these are my words now, not his, but what did Terry McAuliffe do for you 4 years of government that you need another 4? Right. And with the 4-year intermission of the Trump years, when you had all this economic prosperity, security, national security, look at what happened in the NBC News polls of all places. NBC News came out with a poll this week. Yes, Biden's approval rating is only 42%. Yes, 71% say that the country's off on the wrong track. But more decisively, were all the issues that people now say Republicans do a better job on. Afghanistan, national security, economics, and this great one, quote, effective and gets things done. Imagine that. You're the party out of power in Washington completely.
Getting things done.
And getting things done is the way they're seen. And immigration and border security.
Law and order.
People know, look, people know what they see. The Democrats can't tell you not to believe your own eyes. They see people pouring over the border. They don't know who they are, where they're going. If so many drugs are coming in now, fentanyl. I mean, President Trump helped break the back of that, and now it's back up again. We don't know who's coming. We don't know why it's not being stopped. Kamala Harris was in charge of it for a hot minute. She spent a couple minutes. She spent a couple hours there a very long time ago. And just today, Larry, all 24 female senators in Washington sent Joe Biden a letter, and all 24 Republicans and Democrats alike have asked him to make sure he's doing enough to safeguard the rights of women in Afghanistan. Oh. So people have not forgotten all the shrapnel that we've left there. Right. We left them with all the equipment, and we left them, we left people and equipment behind
in the battlefield. So another thing that strikes me, the cops won.
Oh, yes.
The cops won in weird places
everywhere.
Like Minneapolis.
Yeah.
The cops won in Seattle, which was like a Soviet council thing. The cops won in New York City, too.
They did.
Eric Adams, you know, he fought.
Former cop.
And the crazies lost. Defunding police lost. I think that's a gigantic thing. And yet Washington, Biden, could not produce any kind of police reform bill that would strengthen the police, train the police, define parameters.
Senator Tim Scott was right up there. He was trying to do it. Even when we were in the White House, he was trying to do it. He's trying to work across the aisle with others. They just can't get it done. Larry, to my point, people turn on the TV. They live in those cities in Seattle and Minneapolis. And when they had to go and vote for it, they're saying, well, wait, even Joe Biden, he has said 2 things recently that aren't going to make him many friends with the socialists and the squad that doesn't do squat in his party. He said he's a capitalist. He said that about 10 days ago. Could have fooled me. And he also said he's not for defunding the police. So he doesn't even have the right script. Right. His party is going in the socialist leftward direction, and he doesn't even have the right script. But I always trust the wisdom of the people.
Yes.
You know, I was a pollster for decades and just started up again. And the one thing I can tell you, if you are so close to the people at all times, you really appreciate and love them and their unique ideas. They have thought through these issues. If you put them in charge of Washington for a couple days, things would look very differently. They can't afford to have commissions and kicking the can down the road and thinking about it and going on recess. They've thought about it.
That's why the arrogance of these Democratic leaders yesterday and today is so astonishing to me. It's just pure arrogance. So look, you are a strategist, futurist extraordinaire. Read into this. Where do we go from here?
Well, we have a bit of a roadmap for 2022. The only thing I would warn our Republicans against is not playing prevent defense. Glenn Youngkin, Jack Ciattarelli in New Jersey, even the guy, the truck driver who beat Steve Sweeney in my beloved South Jersey, who spent 150, they all went on offense. You have to be on offense. You have to have a message. Larry, I've never seen a brighter line distinction between our two major political parties and their spokespeople, their leaders.
I love that.
So here's the time to say, I'm for lower taxes. What are you for? I'm for capitalism. What are you for? I'm for parents having a right where their children go to school and what is taught there. You know, Phil Murphy in New Jersey running for governor, Terry McAuliffe in Virginia running for governor, and a bunch of other Democrats down ticket all said, I'm here for a woman's right to choose, woman's right to choose, woman's right to choose. And you know what a lot of women are saying? How about a woman's right to choose where their kids go to school and what is taught there? How about a right to choose to keep more of our hard-earned dollars as well?
And last one, I can't resist. With Youngkin, he has a Jamaican descendant, ex-Marine businesswoman as lieutenant governor, and a Cuban Latino attorney general.
Yes, son of immigrants.
Now,
he does.
what does that tell you?
It tells you
about
that
the GOP in particular.
Well, it tells you that the GOP is a party that has been diversifying for a long time, and that people, not just rank and file voters, but people want to put themselves out there as candidates with an R after the name. Winsome Sears, the new lieutenant governor of Virginia, she had a great line. She said that night when she was elected, she said, I was still a Jamaican when I enlisted in the military, U.S. military. She said, I was willing to die for the, I get goosebumps, for the United States of America because I love the country so much. A great message to all of us born here, how people like Winsome Sears will come to this country as a young immigrant, 6 years old, I believe, and work her way up. And she said she worked hard. Her secret is simple. She worked hard and she loved the country.
And she said, I'm not a victim.
She's not a victim.
I'm not a victim.
Well,
I love that.
Women, we are products of our
that.
choices, not victims of our circumstances, and she proves it. And Larry, it just tells you something about the GOP. I think the RNC for a long time, Trump's campaigns, really been building. That's why he did much better among African Americans, Hispanic Americans, than he did even the first time. And you know, the RNC has been opening these centers everywhere where somebody can go and learn more about the party. You have to show up where people are. You can't expect them to come to you. And I think Youngkin did that in Virginia, and it's a great blueprint. Also, New Jersey is a very diverse state.
Right.
And, you know, and Jack Ciattarelli came really super close.
On a shoestring.
Our old Bergen County flipped.
I know.
Double digits.
It was bad.
In one election cycle. It's great, and there's more to come. But the Republicans have to run on the messages. Don't play prevent defense. Don't go with the trends and historical.
Learn from
what happens.
this.
Learn from this and keep going.
Kellyanne Conway,
Thank you.
the best of the best. Thank you ever so much.